What if one
Hello?
phone call
I
didn't just
need
save a
you.
life,
Please come.
but
I'm so
awakened a
sad.
past no one saw coming? As Amara begins a new life under the glow of Christmas lights, secrets from her broken marriage resurface. Will her past let her go peacefully? And will Alexander's powerful world accept a woman with scars and a child not born into wealth? A miracle brought them together, but love will demand courage. Don't miss the next part of this emotional Christmas love story. Like this story if you believe in second chances. Subscribe for more heart-touching romances, suspense, and unforgettable endings. Christmas Eve arrived quietly in Surulere, wrapped in harmattan cold and soft yellow lights that flickered like tired stars. Outside, children laughed as they chased one another with sparklers, their voices floating through the air, along with distant church carols rehearsing for midnight service. Inside Flat 3B, joy did not live there. 4-year-old Timmy sat cross-legged on the floor, clutching a small toy car with one missing wheel. The Christmas tree in the corner was bare, no lights, no ornaments, just a dry plastic reminder of better days. His stomach growled, but he didn't cry. He had learned to stay quiet on nights like this. The shouting started suddenly. "Useless woman," his father roared, his voice thick and broken by drugs and rage. Timmy's heart jumped. He scrambled to his feet as his mother, Amara, rushed him toward the sitting room. "Timmy, sit here and don't move," she whispered, forcing a smile that trembled on her lips. "Mummy will be back." Before he could answer, the bedroom door slammed shut. Then came the sound of the lock. "Mummy?" Timmy called softly. There was no answer, only angry words, the sound of things crashing, and his mother's muffled cry. Tears filled his eyes as he ran to the door, pushing it with his tiny hands. "Mummy, open door!" Another loud bang followed. Timmy froze, his little body shaking. He remembered what his mother had told him weeks ago, kneeling in front of him with serious eyes. "If anything bad happens and Mummy can't answer you, take my phone and call for help." The phone. He ran to the small table and grabbed it, his fingers struggling to unlock the screen. He didn't know numbers properly. He didn't know who to call. His hands shook as he pressed random digits. 09051299496. Green button. The phone rang. Once, twice. Someone answered. "Hello?" Timmy sniffed loudly. "Please, my mummy is crying." There was silence on the other end. "She's locked inside," he continued, his voice breaking. "Daddy is hurting her. Please help my mummy." Miles away in a mansion glowing with Christmas lights, Alexander Kingsley slowly stood up from his chair, his heart pounding for reasons he couldn't explain. "Stay on the line, my boy," he said calmly, already reaching for his coat. "Help is coming." And in that moment, unknown to a frightened child and a trapped woman, destiny quietly changed its course. One call, one Christmas night, one miracle about to unfold. The phone slipped from Tim's small hands and landed softly on the rug, but the voice on the other end didn't disappear. "Hello? Timmy?" Alexander said urgently. "Can you hear me?" Timmy picked it up again, pressing it to his ear the way his mother did. "Yes, sir." "Good boy," Alexander replied gently. "I need you to listen to me. Are you in your house?" "Yes." "Can you tell me what you see outside your door? Any big road? Any shop name?" Timmy looked around, wiping his nose with the back of his hand. "There's Auntie Funke's kiosk and a blue gate." That was enough. Alexander turned to his assistant, already dialing emergency services. Within minutes, police sirens sliced through the quiet Christmas night, racing through streets glowing with festive lights and decorations. Inside the apartment, the sounds behind the bedroom door grew worse. Amara's heart pounded as she shielded her face, tears streaming freely. Pain burned across her arm, but worse was the fear that consumed her, fear for her son. "Timmy, where are you, my baby?" She whispered prayers between sobs. "God, please, not tonight. It's Christmas." Suddenly, bang, bang, bang. A loud knock echoed through the apartment. "Police, open this door now." Her husband froze. Confusion flashed across his drug-clouded eyes. Another bang followed, stronger this time. The door shook violently before it finally burst open. Amara screamed as uniformed officers stormed in, pulling the man away while he struggled and shouted nonsense. "Mummy!" Timmy's small voice cried from the sitting room. She broke free and ran to him, falling to her knees as she wrapped her arms tightly around him. "My baby! My hero!" Moments later, a black luxury SUV pulled up outside the building, its headlights cutting through the darkness. Alexander stepped out, his long coat brushing against the cold night air. He didn't look like the type of man who belonged in a cramped compound, but he didn't hesitate. When Amara saw him, her breath caught. He looked nothing like she imagined. Calm eyes, firm presence, kindness written in the way he approached her, and Timmy. "You're safe now," he said softly. Timmy pointed at him excitedly. "Mummy, he talked to me on the phone." Amara's lips trembled as tears fell again, but this time they were tears of relief. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for answering." Alexander knelt slightly, meeting her eyes. "You didn't dial the wrong number," he said. "You dialed destiny." Outside, Christmas bells rang from a nearby church, and for the first time in years, Amara felt hope rise quietly in her heart. But this rescue was only the beginning. The police lights faded into the distance, leaving behind a heavy silence that settled over the compound like fresh harmattan dust. Neighbors peeped from behind their curtains, whispering prayers and gossip in equal measure, before slowly retreating back into their homes. Amara sat on the worn sofa, Timmy curled tightly in her arms, his small fingers gripping her wrapper as if letting go might make the night start all over again. Her body ached, but her heart hurt more. Every bruise a reminder of how close she had come to losing everything. Alexander stood a few steps away, unsure whether to sit or leave. For the first time in years, his expensive suit felt out of place. "You should see a doctor," he said gently. "I can arrange it." Amara shook her head quickly. "I just want to leave here, tonight." Those two words hit Alexander harder than he expected. Leave. He looked around. The cracked walls, the dim bulb flickering overhead, the air thick with pain and memories. "You won't spend another night here," he said firmly. An hour later, they arrived at a quiet private clinic decorated for Christmas. A small tree stood by the reception, its lights blinking softly as carols played in the background. Amara was treated carefully, nurses murmuring comforting words while Alexander waited outside, Timmy asleep against his shoulder. He watched the boy's chest rise and fall, feeling something unfamiliar stir in his heart. This child trusted me, he thought. Just like that. When Amara returned, dressed in clean clothes the nurse had provided, she stopped short at the sight of her son sleeping peacefully in a stranger's arms. "I'm sorry," Alexander said quickly. "He fell asleep." "No, thank you," she whispered, smiling weakly. They drove to a fully furnished apartment in Ikoyi, warm and glowing with Christmas decorations, cream-colored walls. Modern Nigerian interiors, soft leather sofas, and a tall Christmas tree adorned with gold ornaments and fairy lights. Timmy's eyes widened. "Mummy, is this heaven?" Amara laughed softly through her tears. "No, my love, but it's safe." Alexander knelt in front of her. "Stay here as long as you need. No questions, no pressure." Amara hesitated, pride fighting gratitude. Then she looked at Timmy, already running toward the tree. "Thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't know why God sent you to us." Alexander smiled faintly. "Maybe he knew I needed you too." As midnight approached and Christmas bells echoed through the city, Amara stood by the window, watching the lights dance across Lagos. For the first time in years, she felt warmth. Not from the room, but from the presence of a man who had stepped into her life under the same Christmas sky. And somewhere between safety and silence, something tender began to grow. Sunlight filtered gently through the sheer curtains, painting soft patterns across the cream-colored walls. For a moment, Amara forgot where she was. The room smelled of fresh linen and faint vanilla. nothing like the damp, fearful apartment she had left behind. Then she heard a small laugh. "Mummy, there's plenty lights!" She sat up quickly as Timmy ran around the room, pointing excitedly at the Christmas decorations still glowing faintly from the night before. A warm smile touched her lips, though her eyes filled with tears. This was the first Christmas morning her son had woken up without fear. In the kitchen, the sound of gentle movement caught her attention. Alexander stood by the counter, sleeves rolled up, struggling slightly with a coffee machine clearly more advanced than he was. The kitchen itself was a blend of modern Nigerian luxury, polished marble countertops, wooden cabinets, subtle gold fittings, and soft pendant lights hanging above the island. "Good morning," he said, turning around with a shy smile. "You didn't have to do this," Amara replied softly. "I wanted to," he said. "It's Christmas." They sat around the dining table, sharing a simple breakfast: tea, bread, eggs, and fruit. Timmy chattered endlessly, telling Alexander how he wanted a red bicycle and how he would protect his mummy forever. Alexander listened intently, laughing when Timmy corrected him seriously. "You're very strong," Alexander told him, "just like your mummy." Amara looked away, her cheeks warming. Later that morning, Alexander drove them to church. The building glowed with Christmas colors, red ribbons, white flowers, and the sound of joyful hymns filling the air. Amara held Timmy's hand tightly as they walked in, feeling eyes turn their way, but Alexander's calm presence steadied her. During the sermon, the pastor spoke about new beginnings, about how God often sends help through unexpected people. Amara felt as though every word was meant just for her. She glanced at Alexander, who was watching Timmy doodle quietly in a notebook, his expression thoughtful, softened. That afternoon, back at the apartment, Amara found herself opening up, slowly, cautiously. She spoke about her dreams, her regrets, the love that had once felt safe but turned into pain. Alexander listened without interrupting, his eyes steady, his voice gentle when he finally spoke. "You didn't fail," he said. "You survived." Those words settled deeply in her heart. As evening approached and Christmas lights flickered on again across the city, Amara realized something both comforting and terrifying. For the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving. She was beginning to hope. But hope, she would soon learn, has a way of stirring emotions she wasn't prepared for. The days after Christmas flowed quietly, wrapped in a calm Amara had almost forgotten existed. Morning light filled the Ikoyi apartment, and laughter, soft, real laughter, began to replace fear. Alexander insisted on keeping things simple. No pressure, he reminded her whenever she looked uncomfortable accepting help. Just breathe. Amara spent her mornings in the kitchen, rediscovering joy in cooking. The modern space, with its warm wooden shelves and subtle gold accents, became her sanctuary. The aroma of jollof rice, pepper soup, and freshly baked bread filled the apartment, and each time Alexander passed by, he slowed, smiling. "You cook like someone who puts love into everything," he said one afternoon. Amara laughed shyly. "I used to dream of writing stories," she replied. "But life had other plans." Alexander paused. "Dreams don't expire." Those words stayed with her long after he left the room. Timmy, meanwhile, had claimed Alexander completely. He followed him around the house, asked endless questions, and proudly introduced him to everyone as my big friend. One evening, Alexander helped him assemble a toy car, his sleeves rolled up, his laughter free and unguarded. Amara watched from the doorway, her chest tightening with emotions she hadn't planned for. This is what peace looks like, she thought. One evening, as harmattan winds whispered outside, Alexander invited Amara to sit on the balcony. Christmas lights from nearby buildings twinkled like distant stars. "I didn't grow up with much love," Alexander confessed quietly. "Money came later, but loneliness came with it." Amara listened, surprised by his openness. "I thought rich people had everything." He smiled sadly. "We have things, not always warmth." Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Soft, careful, undeniable. Amara looked away first, her heart racing. She wasn't ready, but she wasn't blind either. That night, as she tucked Timmy into bed, he smiled sleepily. "Mummy, Uncle Alex makes you happy." Amara froze. She kissed his forehead gently. "Sleep, my love." But long after the lights were off, Amara lay awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing that her heart, wounded and cautious, had begun to shift, not in fear, but in love. Yet love, once awakened, would soon be tested in ways none of them expected. The past did not disappear quietly. One cold January morning, just as Amara was beginning to believe that peace could last, the call came. Her husband, now sober but bitter, had been released on bail. Fear rushed back like an unwelcome guest, tightening her chest. Alexander found her sitting silently by the window, her hands shaking. "He can't hurt you anymore," he said firmly. "Not you, not Timmy." And for the first time, Amara didn't face fear alone. Alexander's influence, legal strength, and calm resolve ensured that the case was settled for good. A restraining order was issued. Custody of Timmy was secured. The chapter of pain was finally legally closed. That night, Amara cried, not from fear, but from relief. Months passed. Amara returned to herself. She began writing again, short stories at first, then longer ones. While Timmy started school, proudly telling his classmates that his hero answered a phone call on Christmas. Alexander became more than a protector. He became a presence, steady, kind, deeply involved. He attended school events, read bedtime stories, and listened when Amara doubted herself. One evening, under the same balcony lights where their hearts first opened, Alexander took Amara's hands. "I didn't plan this," he said honestly, "but I know this. I love you, and I love Timmy as my own." Amara's tears fell freely as she nodded. "You found us when we were broken, and you stayed." The following Christmas, the apartment was filled with laughter, music, and warmth. The Christmas tree was bigger this time, decorated with memories instead of fear. Timmy stood proudly between them as Alexander knelt, holding out a simple, elegant ring. "Will you marry me?" he asked softly. "Not as a rescue, but as a choice, as family." "Yes," Amara whispered. "Always yes." Church bells rang in the distance as Timmy clapped excitedly. Now we're forever. Years later, Amara would tell their story not as a tale of pain, but as proof. Proof that miracles are real. Proof that love can arrive through the most unexpected door. Proof that sometimes all it takes to change a life is a 4-year-old child, a trembling finger, and a phone call made on Christmas Eve. And the miracle didn't end that night. It became their life. The next love story awaits. What if the next miracle doesn't come through a phone call, but through a mistaken identity on Christmas night? A young woman running from a secret. A powerful man hiding behind a simple life. One festive encounter that will blur the line between truth and destiny. When love begins with a lie, can it survive the truth? And when the past returns knocking, who will pay the price? The next story will test loyalty, class, and courage in ways you won't expect. Like, if you believe love always finds a way, subscribe for more emotional, suspense-filled romance stories with unforgettable endings.